lot of red flags my wife was seeing that, hey, this dude's got some problems. Of course, I didn't see it because I was just being a
Mhm.
stubborn ass. Still am, be honest with you. I don't know how much has changed, but just being a stubborn ass. So after one morning, after being on an all night bender, smelling like a freaking medicine cabinet, she drugged me to the VA, got me registered for care, and got me hooked up with some counseling and everything else. If it wasn't for her doing that, I'd probably be face down in a gutter at this point.
Hello, and welcome to the Front Seat Debrief. This podcast is intended to confront the unique mental health challenges that our veterans, first responders, and healthcare professionals face on a daily basis. My name is Josh Campbell. I am a social worker who provides therapy in a private practice, and my efforts are focused on these populations. I am a former Army combat medic and a former paramedic firefighter. When my struggles with PTSD became too great for me to continue working as a paramedic, I went back to school earning my BA in English from American Military University. Then I earned my master's in social work at the University of Michigan. This podcast has grown from my own experience coping with repeated exposures to traumatic incidents, my personal path to healing and understanding, as well as my educational background. I want to examine the lived experience of others in coping with trauma, their journey to find healing, and I believe that learning about someone's upbringing can often provide additional context through which greater understanding of their experiences with trauma can be achieved. It is my sincere hope that the content covered in this episode, as well as the episodes that follow, will provide listeners with a sense of not being alone in their struggles. Furthermore, I hope that by having these deeply personal discussions, we can continue to decrease the stigma surrounding mental health, normalize adverse emotional reactions to extreme circumstances, and build momentum for creating a positive culture shift within these professions. Thank you so much for choosing to listen. If you like what you hear, please like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with our progress here. Hello, welcome back to the Front Seat Debrief. I am Josh Campbell, your host. Today I have with me Adam Montgomery. He's a good friend of mine. We met in the reserves. He spent 10 years as a firefighter, medical first responder at his local fire department. He worked as a scrub tech, a medic, and an LPN in the Army. Then he worked as an LPN in the civilian world before going back to being a scrub tech. Now he works as a scrub tech in labor and delivery surgery. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing, brother? Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well, man.
Yeah.
It's been way too long.
Oh, dude. You know what? I think it's probably. I
Yeah,
think
why
it's
didn't
probably. I think it's probably good we live so far away from each other because I think we could probably get in trouble like we used to back in the old Army days. So I don't
No,
know.
you're absolutely right. And that's always like one of those issues, like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with my Army friends. Like,
Yeah.
let me make sure I got bail money. Let me make
Yes.
sure that my schedule's clear for the next day because you just
Yep.
never know.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like we live that far away, especially because
I know.
motorcycles. I
I
mean,
know. I know. But yeah, I think. Yeah, man. It's been a while though, bud. Been a while.
yeah, yeah, it has.
So.
So, yeah, why don't you start us off? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I live in on the west side of Michigan here. Like you said, I worked as a firefighter, first responder on our on-call department here. Um, Let me see. Graduated high school a long time ago, 1994. Joined the Army Reserve during high school, actually, um, just because my family all did it. I figured reserve stuff. I had this big plan. I was going to go to college, do all this other stuff. Didn't end up working out that way, but yeah, graduated high school. Was doing the Army Reserve thing. Working at a local print company here, actually. Working my way up the ladder. I did that for a good 16 years while I was doing the reserve stuff. Got married in 99. Still married to her for some reason. She keeps sticking around. I don't know. Um,
Shout out to Jamie for that.
yeah, that's right. That's right. I got out of the army in 2000 because we wanted to start a family. Yeah, so I was working, wasn't going to school, working, doing quite well. Started our family. Have three boys. Really cool kids. Um, they're pretty awesome. 2000, I decided I wanted to, no, it wasn't 2000, it was 2008. Still working at the printing company, just looking for something, you know. No knock on the corporate grind and stuff like that, but wasn't really my bag. I knew it. The industry was kind of taking a downturn a little bit. Decided it was time to do something. Of course, with the family and everything, you still got to take care of them. Wife stayed home. We made the decision that she would stay home and raise the kids while I worked. So I just needed something. I just needed something. And I'm like, you know what? I really miss, you know, the army, the reserve side. We talked about it. She was out to here with baby number 3, pregnant already or again, and we decided that I'd go back in the reserves. Thought it was how it was back in the 90s. Of course, there's a war on, so things are a little different. I remember sitting in the recruiting office. She went with me and sitting there with a recruiter. She's out there pregnant, and the guy says, "Well, you've been out for 8 years, so you have to go back through basic training." And she says to the recruiter, she says, "You know what?
Oh,
I'm 7 months pregnant. He ain't going. He's not going to do it." And the guy said, "Okay." At that time, they were taking felons. I mean, if you had a pulse, they wanted you. So he checks me in. Boom,
right.
I'm back in. So when I was in there initially, I was a field medic. Obviously, that was a lot different than what, over that 8 years during the wars. They learned a lot. So they told me I had to go back to school to be a medic again. Didn't want to do that, so I went to scrub tech school with the Army. After my third son was born, took off, went to Texas for, I believe it was like 6 months, um, and became a
Mm.
scrub tech. And then I guess the rest is history. After that, a few years later, I ended up going to medic school down in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, which was awesome because I got to do it in the wintertime. It was warm down there. It was beautiful. And enjoyed that. And then the Army, of course, had a track to, once you were a medic, you could become an LPN as well. So I took advantage of that. Lived in DC for a while, at Walter Reed, doing that stuff. So it's kind of all over the place, man. I mean, it's a long story. Obviously not a young guy, so there's been a lot that I'm probably left out, but that's kind of the summary of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so Jamie and the kids just stayed back home in Michigan while you're off
Yeah, they did.
gallivanting from school to school.
Yeah, when I went to LPN school, of course, that was 14 months, either 14 months or 16 months. And of course, the nice part about DC is they don't have a barracks, they don't have a base for you to stay at. So guess what? You get a rented apartment on the Army's dime in downtown DC. Beautiful place. So I had a nice 2 bedroom, 2 bath
Oh my
apartment.
goodness.
I was an E5 at the time, so I was a sergeant at the time. So I was given my own apartment. So in the summertime when the kids were out of school, they came and lived with me, and it was awesome. It was awesome. So
That
her
is
parents would
awesome.
come out, they would do all the tourist stuff around DC while I was at work, and it was good, man. I enjoyed it. And then I got out of there. I did the LPN thing because I'm like, okay, civilian side, I can get out of what I was doing. Wasn't really enjoying it a whole lot. I can get out of what I'm doing, be a nurse, work as an LPN for a while, get my RN, so that's kind of why I did that. So once that was done, I got home and got a job with a hospital as an LPN on a ventilator floor, just working with vent patients, things like that. So that was kind of my way out of the grind I was in, and got me into healthcare full time, which was pretty enjoyable, except for all the charting. But other than that, it was pretty cool.
Charting never changes.
No, it's awful. But yeah, it was good. I was working as an LPN, doing decent. kind of enjoying things. Of course, doing the fire stuff on the side. Um, I live in a pretty small town, so did see not a whole lot of fires, a lot of medical calls, a lot of people I knew, of course, some traumas here and there and things like that. Yeah, and learned a lot and enjoyed it. And enjoyed doing both things. So then at the same time, I'm doing the Army Reserve stuff. And I made the commitment to myself when I went back in. When I was in the 90s, kid fresh out of high school, I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna do a few years and just to say I did it. That's why I did it. Now I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
I've got a family that I've got to take care of. I want to move up the chain as quick as I can. So I was chasing promotions like crazy when I went back in, and
Mm.
so I was working, doing the fire thing, and then at the same time, really trying to get the military career going. So a lot of schools, a lot of leadership schools, things like that. So it's quite busy at the time. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you came in 2008, that's about the time I got to that reserve unit.
yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, I think I met you in the parking lot on your first day. I remember that. Yeah.
wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it was kind of a wild time, right? Because like
Yep.
I had just gotten married or I was about to get married.
Yeah, I think you were about to get married. You were engaged
And
at the time, I believe.
yeah, yeah. Um, and, showing up for that, like, really didn't anticipate how much time I would spend away from home in the
Yeah.
reserves.
Yeah. Yep. And
But
that was my experience as well. Um, I'm like, weekend a month, couple weeks during the summer. It really didn't work out that way. There's a lot more going on. So,
yeah, yeah. And I went to the reserves because I missed active duty. I had
yeah,
gotten off active duty, like maybe 7 months prior.
sure.
And, I missed active duty.
Yeah.
Well, the reserves is a terrible excuse for active duty, right? Like
Yes.
it,
Yes, it is. It is. And it takes a
it's like
long time to
we're
realize
gonna
that
stuff
too.
all the yeah, we'll stuff
Yeah.
all the bullshit from active duty and
Yeah.
none of the
You get
fun
a
stuff.
you get a
So
month of bullshit in 2 days. And then when you've got leadership
yeah,
that's I'm not going to use, I'm not going to be too judgy, but when you have leadership that isn't exactly focused on what needs to be done, it makes it even that much more difficult too. And then when you become
yeah,
like a NCO and start moving up that ladder too, you get more involved in those that leadership aspect, and you see it from a different angle, and you shake your head, man. It's like, wow, this is crazy, you know.
shake your head and do your part to perpetuate the bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. Just I think you learn real quickly that staying quiet's better than expressing your opinions from a lot of times. So
Yeah, yeah.
so
The three double deuce was a special unit.
it sure was. It sure was. Yeah, I was with them shortly after you left. I don't know. I don't know if I was a sergeant. Was I a sergeant when you left? I can't remember. Can't
Jeez,
remember. I
dude.
got I
Honestly,
got
like my memories from that time period are pretty
mine
sparse.
too. But yeah, I got so I was with those guys for a while, and then when I got my staff sergeant, my E6, they didn't have room for me. That's another thing that you really don't realize either is that, if they don't have a spot for you, you got to go somewhere else. So I remember driving, it was a
Yeah.
20-minute drive for me where we were at, and I got promoted. Guess where I'm driving? I'm going to Milwaukee. And at that time, I was
Mm.
already a medic, and they put me in charge of their continuing ed stuff. They're what they call them tables, where you have to go through all the classes every year. Well, I was a staff sergeant and got there, and I was the highest ranking NCO there besides the first sergeant. So guess what? You're doing all kinds of crap. So I'd have to leave for
Oh,
drill
geez.
on a Thursday, and I would get home either late Sunday night or early Monday morning. And yeah, that kept me busy. And then, of course, going to conferences, and then I would teach at least every other month for a week at a time. So I'm just zooming back and forth from
Mm,
here to Wisconsin, just an insane amount of time. And, here I am. I've got 3 young kids at home, and a wife that's ticked off because I'm gone all the time. But man, I was laser focused on that. For me, going to work was something I did when I wasn't doing army stuff. And yeah, it
yeah.
got pretty I was pretty intense about it there for quite some time, which I think led to some of the issues that I do have. Um, so I was there for a good year or so, and then I got a call from I think you remember. I don't know if you remember Salemka or not. You remember him? He
Of course, I remember Salemka.
Yeah, so he gives me one day I'm at drill, I'm in Wisconsin, he gives me a call. He's like, "Hey dude." He says, "What are you doing over there in Milwaukee?" I said, "Well, I said I'm the I think my title was EMT NCO or something like that." And he's like, "Hey," he says, "You want to
Mm,
deploy?" Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm running the rat race here. I might as well go. And for me too, I'm like, man, I've spent all these years training, all these years teaching others everything. And, you almost felt like you were almost like an imposter because you're teaching everybody to do all this stuff. You've never done it. They have, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go. I said, what do I need to do? He says, you're going to go. He says, we need a E6, and he says, we need a scrub tech. You fit the bill. Called the wife. She's like, I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, I'm going. Like I had my mind made up. So next thing I know, I get attached to a unit, a forward surgical team down in Detroit. And it was so like a forward surgical team is like I don't know, like a shock trauma unit. It's a small team of people. You've got 2 or 3 surgeons. Usually have an orthopedic surgeon, a vascular surgeon, or a thoracic surgeon, a 1 or 2 RNs, couple LPNs, and then medics and scrub techs. That's all you got. And you go out where the idea is somebody gets wounded on the battlefield, you got an hour to get them blood, to get the bleeding stopped or whatever, and it increases their chances of survival. So they put us out there for that. That was our job, was to, keep people long enough or keep people alive long enough to get them to the next level of care. So um yeah, rolled in with that unit. Found out we'd be splitting into 2 different teams when we got over there. So, hey, there's one other staff sergeant, and I'm the other guy. So guess what? You're the NCO in charge of this team that's going out. I'm like, oh crap, okay, you know. But man, it was such a good group of people too, man. We had some real rock stars out there. And that was in 2015, August of 2015, we stepped off for that. But before that, we had months of prep work. We spent a month down in Miami. They contracted with a trauma hospital down there to get us ready. And I hadn't scrubbed in to do a surgery in years, right? So I had to take the remedial route, and I would just sit there all day long, just scrubbing in, remembering how to do surgery, things like that. But I think that really
mm,
got us ready to go because I mean we saw quite a lot of stabbing, shootings, car wrecks, things like that. Kind of get you in the mindset of this is the kind of thing you're going to see. Um, but it was a good experience. But like I said, that 6 months leading up to that deployment, I mean, I'm home for a week, I'm gone for 2. I'm home for 2 weeks, I'm gone for a week. And it just was back and forth for 6 months. Um, and again, young family, trying to explain to the kids what's going on. And at this point, I'm thinking, I'm glad I'm doing this. I mean, because let's be honest, you don't join the military without some type of, love for your country, happy to be, doing what you're doing. And I was, man, I was red, white, and blue all the way. So I'm like, this is, you know, my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. At the same time, I'm neglecting home. I mean, honestly. And
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to go. You don't know what you're going to see, what you're going to do. And with the kind of work you do, it's not like I'm sitting, in Kuwait away from all the fighting and stuff. And at this point in time, we'd pretty much left Iraq. ISIS come rolling in and just decimated everything. So our government says, okay, the Iraqi army will do the fight, and we're going to give you all the support. So, I was part of that group that went in with obviously with the medical support aspect of it. So yeah, in November, I'm trying to think, November of 2015, I believe it was. Yeah, we stepped off and headed out. They split us into a couple different teams. We ended up in Anbar province. El Taqatem Air Base is where I ended up. And it used to be a big U.S. base. Well, of course,
Yeah.
they turned it over to the Iraqis, and they let us have a little small piece of real estate when we got there. It had already been we were taking over for another team, so they already had some things established, but it was pretty primitive. They'd been there for a good 7-8 months, and then we were stepping in to take over. But we were just outside the cities of kind of in the between. We're near Fallujah, just outside of Ramadi. And the Iraqis were them and ISIS were duking it out. So I remember first night getting there, first day we were there. We got there at night, of course, no cars. It was all you had to fly in. And first day we're there, we get a mass cal. There's like I said, I think at the time there were 14 of us there, 8 patients, blast injuries, gunshot wounds, and burns. And so it was like first day there, it's like, holy cow. I mean, it was like, here we go. And that didn't let up I was there for 9 months. I would say out of those 9 months, 6 of them, it was all day, every day. Um, usually we'd start seeing casualties around 2 in the afternoon. We didn't get done till midnight, 1 o'clock most nights. So we just take them,
Holy
stabilize
shit.
them, you know, he gets his leg a guy gets his leg or arm blown off, you go ahead and tidy things up a little bit so they can survive the trip back to their own hospital. But yeah, we were in just a little tent. I always had to wear 2 pairs of gloves when I did surgery because we'd have flies buzzing around the wounds. So we had to slap a fly, peel a glove off, and keep going. um yeah, it
Holy
was like I
crap.
said, it was primitive, it was crazy, and so I was doing my work in the operating room. Of course, I was a medic as well, so I did some stuff there. I remember doing a chest tube, and I'm there with one of the doctors, and we had this guy. It's middle of the night. He come in. Of course, there was always somebody there. Our sleep tent was right next door, but she's like, "We can take care of this ourselves." She says, "He just needs a chest tube. You ever do one?" I said, "No." She's like, "You're gonna do one now." I'm like, "This is not outside my scope of practice." And she goes, "Oh, there is no scope of practice out here. You're gonna do whatever you need to do." I'm like, "Okay." So yeah, I mean, we did a lot of stuff out there. So yeah, I'm doing that job, and then at the same time, um, I'm the old man. I'm the big Sarge, so I've got to take care of everybody else and make sure they're okay too, which put a lot of extra pressure
Yeah.
on me. Um, I saw my job as not being. I mean, we've known each other long enough to know that I'm not some kind of big giant hard ass. Um, I care about how people are doing and if they can do their job or not. And they sure could. They could do their jobs. We fell under a Marine Corps task force out there, and they were very strict. I wasn't. So
Okay.
I would make sure if something happened or if they did something wrong, I took the butt chewing so that they didn't have to. So um
Sure.
yeah, so that's kind of what we did for a good 9 months. And yeah, then came home in August of 2016. It was my oldest kid's 13th birthday when I flew home. So I think it was a good birthday
Yeah.
present for him. He got to finally see his dad after me being in and out. So yeah.
Yeah.
So then I came home
Yeah. It's an
and
exciting 9 months, though.
yeah, it was exciting for a while, but the grind just got us. I mean, it got all of us. It got to the point
Yeah.
where it was pretty tough. I'm glad it was only 9 months. because I still talk to the guys. There's a group of four of them that we're still pretty close. We still talk a lot, and we don't really talk about that time a whole lot. Um, but we do when we do talk about it, we talk about how tough, how much it wore on us, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of the stuff that I've got going on or that I've dealt with is the fact that it's not necessarily a lot of it is what I saw. I mean, let's be honest, it was horrific. And even as a healthcare worker, here's something I love bringing up too, because I'd say they think some folks think that as a healthcare worker you're immune to feeling and you're immune to being shocked by things you see. That when you do see or deal with those things, that you can just brush them off because it's just part of the job. Um, when you see it all day, every day, and you deal with it, and you see the consequences of some asshole not liking some other asshole, you know sending their guys out to butt heads with each other just because, they pray different or whatever, it pisses you off, and you see those things and it grinds on you. And like I said, meantime, I got to take care of my guys too and deal with my own stuff, which I just grabbed a sack and just stuffed that crap down as far as I could because we got a job to do. And I came home and did the exact same thing, man. I've got specific, there's a couple things, and I'm not going to share them because that's my own demons to fight. But, I still see faces at night. One case in particular, and the guys that were there know it, and I'll just leave it at that. But I still see it, still smell it, you know? And so, you almost
Yeah.
think, and you think it too, hey, I'm a healthcare worker. I'm immune to this crap. No, you're not. You're not. And, you can only
Yeah.
stuff it down for so long. So yeah, I guess that's my little PSA on folks out there doing the job. Quit stuffing the crap down because it doesn't go away. Um, yeah, so came home anyway. Came home, decided that yeah, maybe I don't want to. I was digging the surgery stuff. I enjoyed it. Felt like that's where I fit. Um, and at the same time, like dealing with I mean, let's be honest, it was burnout, pure and simple. I mean, who wouldn't be burned out after dealing with stuff like that? At that pace. Um, I'm like, yeah, I'm burned out, just I don't want to do this nursing thing. Um, I was looking on the job boards and stuff, and I found a local hospital here that needed a scrub tech, and it was for labor and delivery. I thought, that's my foot in the door. I'll do stuff like that. Um, because I thought, it's a little bit more slower paced. I wouldn't say easier because sometimes it's not, but kind of a little bit, it's a happy time in people's lives. So you don't have to deal with the traumas and stuff. Still to this day, if I never see another trauma again, I'll die a happy man. I had my fill. So I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, labor and delivery would be kind of fun. And that's what I've been doing for 10 years now. Really enjoy it. Army side, after I get home, of course, you get the required few months off, how that goes, and then you go back. Well, I go back. The sergeant in charge of the unit, she moves on. She got promoted out, so that put me in charge. So I'm still trying to process everything. Still trying to get my family life back together after being gone for so long. You know how it goes. You're gone for a while. You expect everything to be the same. They expect you to come back and step into the exact same role you were in when you were gone. So let's just say that causes some issues, a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Like me, young kids, they don't know their dad. I got to get to know them again. Got a new job, trying to step into that role, and I'm also in charge. Me and I'm the commander's right hand man, and the guys I deployed with, they're still there. So we sit there and we'd sit in our little school circle there and just kind of talk, which was a big help. talking to them about their struggles, just kind of talking to each other about what our struggles were. So that was nice. But at the same time, I was busy, this other leadership stuff. Of course, deployments are still going on. Forward surgical teams at the time were going out every 2 to 3 years. So obviously, I knew there was something else coming down the pike. Um, then, of course, the Army Reserve, they at the time had this thing where they wanted a certain amount of units being ready to go within 24 hours of being called up. So guess what? We got the go ahead for that. So you know how the military works, all their paperwork, their meetings, all their stuff. So I was flying out to Utah constantly. Um, Still trying to do these leadership schools. But at the same time, I'm pretty well fried. Um, Pretty well fried mentally, physically as well. I mean, my physical health, whew, dude, it was getting bad. Um, you know, uh, I love food, so I was getting fat, not running, not doing anything I needed to be doing. Um, for for some strange reason, I ended up kept passing, and stayed on. But yeah, I could tell the grind was definitely getting to me. Then in 2019, so I'd been back for like 4 years. So we were just grinding that out, man, just grinding it out, grinding it out. Anyway, find out that, hey, there's another deployment coming up to Afghanistan. Like, okay, here we go. I'm going. It's my job. Um, and I'm in the hotel room because I was in Detroit at the time. It was about a 3 hour drive for me. So they put us up in a hotel. And my commander calls me on a Thursday night. We were leaving for Friday to go shoot. And he tells me, he says, "Hey, man," he says, "you can't go." So, what's going on? He's like, "Just got a call from the sergeant major. You're being med boarded." I'm like, "For what?" He's like, "For your mental health." I'm like, "What?" I mean, just completely out of the blue. He says, "So you can't touch a weapon. You can't go shoot with us." He said, "We can keep you in the rear. You can do paperwork." I said, "You know what? No, I'm going home." Uh, So, then I started looking at the paperwork they'd sent me that, yeah, it was med board me because of my mental health. So what had happened is, um, being home, working, doing that military grind, I did what most guys did, developed the drinking habit. A lot of red flags my wife was seeing that, hey, this dude's got some problems. Of course, I didn't see it because I was just being a stubborn ass. Still am, be honest with you. I don't know how much has changed, but just being a stubborn ass. So after one morning, after being on an all night bender, smelling like a freaking medicine cabinet, she drugged me to the VA, got me registered for care, and got me hooked up with some counseling and everything else. If it wasn't for her doing that, I'd probably be face down in a gutter at this point. So yeah, anyway, started seeing a counselor, talking through some of that stuff. Again, being the stubborn ass I am, I really didn't want to accept the help. I was doing it just to, keep my wife from leaving me. I mean, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, through that whole process, the counselor's like, "Dude, you need to apply for benefits." And I was staunchly against that. I thought only freeloaders did crap like that. That was my thought at the time. Certainly isn't now, but yeah, I was seeing a counselor and he says, "You should apply for, he says, "You definitely got some issues." He says, "I'm diagnosing you with PTSD," which I laughed at him. I'm like, "Oh man, I'm just burned out. I'm fine." Of course, I was having dreams, intrusive thoughts. I remember there were, so I laugh at it now, but it was scary at the time. I remember there was a couple nights I woke up underneath my bed because I thought we were getting shot at, and I was looking under my bed for my weapon. I mean, it's kind of a red flag looking back on
Yeah.
it now. I just thought it was goofy back then. But anyway, so I applied for benefits. They gave me a VA rating for PTSD and everything. Apparently, my command got wind of that. That and probably the way I was acting, when I was with the soldiers, especially when I was with the commander. Um, my temper was very short, extremely short. Things I used to care about before I could care less about anymore. Like I said, I'm a laid back guy. I would chew a soldier out if they couldn't do their job. I wouldn't chew a soldier out if their uniform was messed up. I just tell them to fix it, you know. And
Yeah.
I wasn't their buddy, but if they could do their job, like I said, especially in healthcare, in the military, it's kind of a different animal. You know, it's not the rah rah go get them kind of thing. But if they could do their job, they could do their job, and we were good. But anyway, so I wasn't caring about things like that. You know, now that I've been out, we talk a lot. We've gone to, we go to breakfast from time to time, and having him talk to me about the changes he saw in me was pretty startling, actually. The changes I was
Yeah.
doing. Meantime, doing the same thing at home too, angry all the time, didn't care about nothing. Um, yeah, so I needed help. I got help. The Army got wind of it, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't have this. You're a broken tool. It's time for you to go." I was gonna fight it because my plan was to stay until I hit 65 years old. I'm in for life. In fact, when I was in Iraq, my enlistment was up, so I signed an indefinite reenlistment. So that means I was going to get out
Wow.
when I was dead, when I hit 65, or or before that, if I asked them to let me go, I had to get permission from them to be let go. I mean, I was staying in. I was locked in. And yeah, went through. I decided, you know what? My wife and I talked about it. She says, "You need to go. It's time. It's time to get out." So I went through the med board process, and on my birthday in 2020, I was officially medically retired, which I didn't see that coming either. I just thought I'd be kicked out and that'd be it, but they actually retired me. So, yes, I'm Staff Sergeant retired now. It's an official title, which is pretty cool. You only see that on envelopes of junk mail you get for home loans.
Nice.
Uh,
For
but
sure.
yeah, but yeah, I got that. I got that title. They retired me, and it was very surreal seeing that paperwork. It broke my heart. I mean, I was devastated. Knowing that this is something that's where I felt like I belonged. That was my identity, and it was gone. So, in true male fashion, I just went even deeper in that hole. The depression was overwhelming. I was still seeing a therapist from time to time, things like that. But yeah, dude, if I wasn't working, if I wasn't at my job, I was drinking like a fish, um, wrecking everything I could wreck. Uh, really didn't see a way out of it. Here I am working this civilian job and you know, just going through the motions, drinking like a fish, being angry all the time. Yeah, it was pretty intense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot, man.
Yeah, it is a lot. Looking back on it, it is. Yeah, and I think.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
it's all right. We've got a little bit of a delay between our feeds, I think. But
Yeah, yeah,
um yeah, I think that there's so many elements in your story that are just like so common,
oh yeah,
right? Like so
yep,
many people experience these same themes.
yep,
And um I love that you mentioned, your identity, right?
yeah,
That is one of those things that really kind of fucked me up too. In
yeah,
in a couple different times, right? Like losing one's identity, like, and I don't know how to prevent it because when you're a soldier,
yeah,
damn it, you're a soldier,
yeah,
and that's who you are. That's what you are. That's what you do. Like,
yep.
there's no way to not take on that identity.
I agree.
But when it's stripped away from you,
Yeah,
it's
yeah. There was
you're just
no
floating adrift, right?
yeah, in my situation there was no hey, we're thinking of doing this. It was just like, hey, you're done. and I wasn't gonna go to the freaking firing range with the guys I was with, and, be like, I can't go with you because the Army deems me too nuts to do so." But, um,
Right.
and at the same time, there were guys going through those struggles too, that I was with, and a couple of them they went through the same thing I did. They got medically retired, but my big thing with them was I remember when before we left, Iraq, our little small core group and headed back, I told them all, I said, "You know what?" I said, "If you need help, go get help. Get yourself taken care of." Um, and I still, I mean, not to the same degree I used to, but I still have a lot of guilt about even making that statement because it cost me my career, cost a couple other guys their career. And yeah, it's reserves. I get it. That's fine. But it's still your identity. That's still who you are. Especially the pace I was running at. I mean, that was more of a full-time job than the one I had.
Yeah.
But I thought I had a lot of guilt wrapped up in me for telling all those guys to get help. Um, I'm glad they did. I'm glad I did. But at the time, there's a lot of guilt because that's a good way to flush your career down the toilet. And they tell you to get help. They tell you to get help, but unless you're marginally broken, they don't want you anymore. And that's a hard pill to swallow. They don't want me. I put in all
Yeah.
this time. They don't want me anymore. So that's tough, man.
Yeah. And I talked to my first guest, Zane, about
Mhm.
similar things, right? And we talked about the stigma against getting help
Oh
in the
yeah.
military because
Yeah.
of that very reason, right?
Yep.
And I understand like the military's perspective on that.
I do too.
What I don't understand is why can't we be more proactive and
Mhm.
provide better help and support for people that we have clearly fucked up
Yeah.
to allow them to, you know, find that inner resilience and work through the issues and not be a toxic force in the troop ranks, right?
I couldn't agree more. The funny thing
I mean,
is we
there's a way to do it.
yeah, they were starting like this resilience training, they would have somebody as a resilience trainer and you'd talk about like mental health resilience and things like that, but it's kind of surface level stuff. To illustrate your point, here's a perfect example. We come back, we had to go through our demobilization process down in Fort Hood. Of course, you got to go through, how the military works. You got to see, well, you've done it. You got to see this person, this person. Anyway, had to see the mental health people, before they could clear us to go home.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, well, what's your mental health like? And I'm like, even at that point, I knew something was going on because it was, um, like I said, it was just an intense time. And I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, you know, I'm struggling a little bit. And he's like, okay. That was it. As he's typing. And I said, yeah, that guy over there that you just talked to, I said, he sleeps 2 hours a night because he can't sleep. He paces all night. The guy over there, he'll sleep 25 hours a day if there's time left. This guy over here, he's screaming when he sleeps. Oh, okay. Well, go ahead. Take this sheet with you when you go to the VA. That was my mental health debrief when I demobbed, even after I told him about those
What the
problems.
fuck?
I told him, I said, I'm having nightmares. I said, I can't sleep. Of course, I'm just stepping off the boat, as it were, as hyper vigilant. And I told him all this stuff. I was honest with him because that's what I told my guys. You tell them what's going on, they'll take care of you. I got a slip of paper and was told to go to the VA. Goodbye. Thank you for your service. I mean, who does that? You send me off, you
Mhm.
essentially break me, and I'm not upset. I'm not. That's what pisses me off the most. Is not the fact that they broke me. That's fine. I get it. That's war. That's what the military does. I get it. I'm fine with that. What pisses me off is when I get home after you break me, you tell me sorry about your luck. Go see this other agency, and that's exactly what happened. That was my first impression getting back to the states. So how am I supposed to feel? You know.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, you're already pissed off. 2 days later, you're at home and everybody's expecting you to, feel, act, and be the same way you were before, and you're expecting them to be the same. So, talk about stress, dude. I mean, I don't think guys talk about that enough.
Yeah. Yeah. And like it is weird. I had a similar experience when I got off active duty after 4 years.
Mhm.
It didn't occur to me that I wasn't going home to the same friends, the same places, the same people, right? Like there's all
Yeah.
sorts of new shit. My
Yep.
friends have all continued on with their lives like
Yeah.
reasonable people would. I
Yeah.
can't fault them for that. But
Absolutely.
like they have all these new communities that I'm not a part of.
Yep.
And so I felt super alone and adrift. And
Yep.
again, that loss of identity.
Yeah.
And the same thing happens after deployment. And the
Yeah.
change that occurs there is more stark than like a protracted one after like 4 years of doing that shit.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I think what they don't really talk about on the reserve side either. I mean, you're active duty, you come home from deployment. Yeah, you go home to your family and stuff, but your work day is typically with the guys you were there with. I mean, typically,
Hmm.
that's how it went. With us, no. See you in a few months, man. So, you lose that
Yeah.
sense of community. Yeah, and like you said, it's even more stark because it was a protracted timetable. So yeah, it was tough. I mean, I could go on about that stuff forever, how
And
angry that made me.
yeah, and so when you had deployed, you actually backfilled another unit, correct?
Yeah, so I didn't know the people a whole lot. So I really had to, and I was doing a job I hadn't done in a long time either. And yeah, so I really had to get to know those guys quickly, especially when I found out, oh, you're in charge of these guys. I'd formed those bonds quick.
Yeah.
But luckily they were, and still most of those guys they'll be lifelong friends. I mean, it worked out very well. So luckily when I was over there, it wasn't a toxic environment. It was a good environment. I mean, I remember after there would be, after some things that came through there, um, you just walk up to one of your buddies or they'd walk up to you and say, hey man, I need a hug. And you just sit there and hug, you know. We still do that. So, but, even being able to do that, it was still, you know, it was tough.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good group
So
of
when you
dudes,
came
man.
home, yeah. Well, and as well as I do in the military, like, man, fucking trauma bonds, right? Like that's all
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
military is. Like,
Oh, and the gallows humor we had, it was next
oh
level.
yeah,
I mean, it was, I mean, I'll tell you. But you also feel at the same time, even with all this stuff going on, you feel like, man, I did something good. I did my job. I hope I did it well. I mean, they all came home alive. All our guys did. We saved a lot of people. I don't care. And that's another thing they say. Well, did you work on when you go to the VA? Did you work on U.S. soldiers? No, I don't know. I probably couldn't tell with some of them. Some of them had half their faces blown off. What does it matter? You still got to see it. You still got to smell it. You still got to listen to them screaming. Yeah, I'm sure it's tougher working on a comrade. Absolutely, it's got to be. But day after day after day after day, it was crazy. But yeah, the gallows humor we developed was
yeah,
pretty crazy. We had some good times too.
yeah. It's always fun when that stuff slips out now, like in polite company. It's like, oh shit, that was clearly way too much for this
Oh
crowd of
yes,
people I'm in. Like,
even after all this time, it still comes out. It still comes out. Yeah, yeah, it does. It still comes out, but not as much as it used to,
yeah,
thankfully. But yeah,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah. So
So
yeah,
when you got home, did you end up going back to your original reserve unit in Milwaukee then?
No, I stayed in Detroit. They kept me on. And like I said, then I'm in charge. I'm the sergeant in charge of the unit because the other one, she, got promoted out, just like I had previously. And yeah, yeah. So I was with the same guys that I deployed with, which I think, I mean, like I said, we would go to drill and we just sit and we'd talk about things that were bothering us. So that helped a lot,
Yeah.
seeing those guys because I knew at my lowest point, I would say probably 3, 4 times a day, I thought, you know what? W- what are we doing here? It's time to check out. Let's call it a day. But the thing that got me through a lot of that stuff was knowing, hey, in a couple weeks I get to go see the guys. I get to go tell them how I'm feeling. I could be open and honest with those
Yeah.
guys. They were with me, and so that really kept me going. I'm like, yeah, I can't let the guys down, man. Can't let them down. I gotta stick around, keep it together. Can't let the guys down. So yeah, it was a
Yeah.
big help being around them.
Yeah. No, that would be. Um, and it's interesting for me to hear that experience, like, of coming home, because like my experience was completely different.
Hmm.
Um, like, I was medevaced, and
Yeah,
I ended up going to Germany for a couple of weeks, and then I got sent back to the States. They're gonna send me home to my
yeah,
home of record, but Sarah had gone and joined the active duty army, and we
yes,
sold our
yeah,
house.
yeah,
So I'm like, well, she's stationed at Fort Benning, so send me there.
yeah.
And so I ended up in the Warrior Transition Unit there.
Okay,
And
how was that?
that place was it was scary at times, honestly.
Okay,
Um, like fights breaking out in like platoon formation because
yeah,
somebody with a TBI and like a really traumatic deployment, they're all fucked up and combative with everybody. And,
yeah,
like, right or wrong, I always had a gun on me while I was there. Like,
sure.
I went through my morning platoon formation, and then I got my truck and I left post. I'm like, I'm not sticking around. Like,
I wouldn't
ah,
either.
I'll go I'll go to whatever formations I have to go to for accountability. I'll go to my appointments, but I'm
Yeah,
avoiding this place at all costs. So
yeah,
yeah, it was weird, but I got cut loose, like released from active duty with like 5 days notice.
yeah.
I didn't have like the demob anything. Um, I just went through like out processing, and here's your DD 214, and
Yep,
have a good one.
yep.
What the fuck do I do with that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you always think, what now? What do I do now?
Yeah, yeah. So that was interesting. It would have been really nice to have that support network that you kind of had um, with the other guys. Okay, we had a little bit of technical difficulties there. I think we're good to go now, and
All right.
still here with Adam. Um, he's done a really good job kind of working his way through this outline that we have here. Um, Kind of brings us to relational impact and how the stress of the job
Hmm.
affected you in your life and how you relate to other people.
Yeah, I think we talked a little bit about, my anger and stuff like that. That definitely had an impact here at home. Um, I was a lot shorter with like my wife, my kids. Obviously there was that honeymoon period of a month or two where after I'm home, hey, he's back, everything's great. Um, then after a while the cracks start to show up, man. Like I said, waking up at night and, you know, kicking and flailing around. I can't count the amount of times I've actually punched my wife, face, head, whatever, flailing around at night. Or there was a couple nights where I woke up on top of her with my hand around her throat. Don't know why, waking up like that. A lot of night terrors, a lot of nightmares, especially in the early stages. I wouldn't say early stages, I'd say for a couple of years, that was difficult. Um, I was doing the therapy thing at the VA, trying to get through that, doing some group therapy. And one of the guys suggested, he says, either get separate beds or separate blankets, but you got to do something. And that actually worked. Separate blankets
Mm.
worked,
Oh yeah,
so oh yeah,
interesting.
you learned, yeah, but you learn how to deal with things like that. And just the way I was, I mean, when I left, I was one of those guys. I wasn't necessarily one of those guys that always had life goals and, hey, here's my 5-year plan, here's my 10-year plan. But I was to the point there is no plan, no plan. Like I said, I was going through the med board process at the time, and first I'm running all the way to red, go through the med board process, and that's all gone. Um, and there was a lot of on my part just feeling like I was a failure, pure and simple. No fault of my own, but I thought it was. Um, Therapy, it was okay. But then again, with my anger issues and stuff, I get so ticked off when I went to see the therapist, because it was, the way the VA does things is, okay, tell me what happened, what event happened, when did it happen? Um, and I would always tell them, pick a day. It's almost like they didn't know what to do with that because I wasn't following the script they were given. So I was angry about stuff like that. My civilian job, um, I could stay pretty even for that. But so all this stuff's going on. So at home, I'm isolating myself, man. I just didn't feel like I had anything more to contribute to society. I had a job because the bills had to be paid. There was no fulfillment in that work at all at the time. It was something I had to do to pay the bills. But when I got home, man, you put me in this basement and turn off the lights and have me face a wall, I'm happy. Leave me alone. Give me a drink. Don't talk to me. And anybody that invaded that space, my wife, even my kids, I was mad. Like I said, it's the usual path of self-destruction, with the drinking all the time. And look, I'm still a guy. Hell, last night I hung out with buddies playing Call of Duty, playing video games, and I had a few beers. That's fine. That's normal, right? It ain't normal to wake up at
Yeah.
9 o'clock in the morning, pour yourself a rum and coke, trying to hide it from everybody, and just get blasted all day long just to make it through the day. So there's a lot of self-loathing there. And like I said, your relationships are it's just wreckage, man. Just destruction. You don't care about yourself. You don't care what happens to you. You don't care about life in general. So how's that going to reflect in your relationships? Well, it's all going to go to shit. And it has gone to shit. Um, and it takes a lot of time, um, a lot of grace on the part of those around you to kind of let you back in once you realize what a douchebag you've been. But I was like that for years, you know. To be quite honest with you, there's times when I'm like that now. Hopefully not as bad. I don't think so. Definitely not as often, but I remember oh shoot. It was night before Christmas Eve one night, and I was so drunk I could barely walk. I could hardly talk. And my wife is asking me
Mm.
something, and my speech is so slurred I can't even answer her. And I remember looking at my wife and she's just crying. Just crying. She's not mad. She's just crying. And I'm like, man, I'm worthless. So it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not doing what I need to be doing as far as with my life. I felt like that was my life was taken away from me, and I'm wrecking everybody else's life around here. So why do I need to be here? Um and man, I fought like crazy just to be alive. I remember sitting in a counseling session one time and telling the counselor how I was feeling about it, and how depressed I was. And he's like, "Do you have a plan?" I said, "Yeah, I got a plan." I said, "You guys give me tons of pills." I mean, at the time, I was seeking VA care, of course. So I'm on antidepressants, sleep medications. I'm on tons of Xanax. Of course, I'm drinking like a fish. I mean, I'd show up to therapy sessions drunker than shit. Um, I'm on some other stuff. I can't even remember. I'm like, yeah, my plan is I said I'm gonna go home and I said I'm gonna dump that whole bottle of pills down my gullet and we'll just see what happens. I mean, that's the point I was at. And I remember telling my wife that too. I said, I'm done. I said, I said I feel like I've wrecked everything I have, and it's only causing pain and suffering on your guys' part. So I'm done. And I remember, I cannot remember if it was her or the therapist told me, okay, think about how you feel right now. It's pretty terrible, isn't it? I'm like, yeah, it's awful. He said, so if you do this, he says, if you kill yourself, they find you laying in the house or wherever, he says, how are they gonna feel? He said, they're gonna feel the exact same way you do right now, that you left them, and they're gonna feel horrible. Do you want them feeling that way? And I'm like, I thought about it, and I thought about it honestly. Do I even care how they feel? Yeah, I do. Do I want them feeling how I'm feeling right now? Absolutely not. I wouldn't want anybody to feel that way. So that's what kept me going. There was
Yeah.
no aha moment or anything like that. It was just this, there's just this voice in my head, that person saying, "Do you want them to feel how you're feeling?" Nope. No, I don't. So I'll keep going. And then so you slowly start to realize that, okay, if I'm going to stick around here, I can't stay on the path I'm on. What do I do? And there was some years of absolute just being lost, not wanting to live, but not wanting to die. Um, I remember telling my wife, I said, there's times when I'm driving my car, I just want to if we just go this way a little bit, we clip that telephone pole. Dad didn't kill himself. He got killed in a car wreck. I mean, those thoughts were daily, constantly. In the meantime, I'm killing myself anyway with booze. I mean, I'm dropping
Yeah.
down. I'm dropping down a fifth of booze every day, you know, just to numb the way I feel. And I sit there and you like I said, you go through these counseling sessions, you talk to people, and they're like, "Well, what was that one thing that happened that made you feel this way?" And you just keep running through that scenario. Okay, what happened that made me this way? What happened? I I, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I had issues before I even went, and this just made them come out or made them worse. I don't know. But you can waste a hell of a lot of energy trying to figure that out instead of just saying,
Yeah.
okay, this is the way I am now. So
Yeah.
that was the spiral, man. And it's a deep, deep, dark place.
It is.
I mean,
Yeah. And
even now, is my wife and I's relationship great? No. No. I mean, honestly, it's not. It's not ideal by any means. Um, but I think the trap that I fell into was giving me pills, give me some counseling, snap your fingers, and you're going to be fine.
mm,
And that's not how it works.
yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah.
um, and it's really unfortunate because these are things that as clinicians, we hope that medication and therapy are going to be enough to, maybe keep, take the edge off a little bit, give you time to like work through everything, right? Um, but yeah, when it comes to recovering from, beginning to heal from, like,
Hmm.
those kinds of moral injury, there's a lot of like work that I feel like not a lot of people want to talk about.
No, no, it's and I still don't like to talk about it. I mean, honestly, the reason I thought I would do this is because talking about it does heal it. It doesn't heal you, but it helps. Puts a band-aid on it for a
Yeah.
while. Um, but at the same time, I think my one of the biggest things for me is I started doing like group therapy, right? For PTSD support group at the VA.
Hmm.
And there was a lot of guys there. I mean, my old crusty butt was one of the younger ones. These are all Vietnam vets that are still
Yeah.
struggling. And I remember one old coop puts his hand on my shoulder and he just says, "Son, this is never going to go away. You're never going to be better, um, but you can learn to live with it." And I think that was a big wake up call for me of this isn't going to go away. I thought that, yeah, I'll be home for a while, everything will go away. And does it get a little easier as time goes on? Yeah, it does help, but it's still there. And I think you got to realize it.
Yeah.
And like I said, I thought that, you know, hey, it's just a problem I have and it'll be fixed. It's never fixed, but you do learn to deal with it and how to uh, be a little bit healthier in the way you live your life and just living life in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, my
Yeah. That's tough.
I mean, how many times can you tell your wife and your kids that you're sorry for being a drunken asshole to them? How many times before they just say, "You know
I
what?
wouldn't.
Piss off, old man." Because I've done a
Yeah.
lot of apologizing, and I'll be honest with you, that apology goes about as far as the front door because they know it's going to happen again, or at least they think it is. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. My sons are adults now. My youngest will be graduating high school this year, and the damage I've done to those relationships is just, I mean, like I said, it's just I walk in the door when I come home and I just see if I let it get to me, it can really get me down, and it does at times because, and it's funny, when I was thinking about this today, I was thinking a lot about the damage I've done, and there's a lot of it out there, man. I've done a lot. I've said a lot. Broken a lot of things around the house. But yeah, it's tough when, it's one thing when it's your spouse and that's bad enough. But man, when you tell your kids, yeah, I'll change, I'll be better and stuff like that, and you're not, man, like I said, how many times are you gonna tell them that before they just tell you, yeah, F you, dude. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on those, man. I'm still trying to fix those relationships because I've wrecked them. And my wife and I have talked a few times about, hey, how about we just call it quits? And I think there's a standing there's my statement is always, well, if it doesn't work out, it's my fault. I don't blame anybody but myself. And I think getting to that point where it's like, yep, I did this. Um, I'm broken. Um, and I'm not the same as I used to be. I think being able to make those statements and actually believe them is a huge thing. Um, it doesn't mean you don't stop trying. All right, so where were
Yeah.
we?
The
Talking
the
about the
wreckage,
the
the
wreckage,
human
the,
toll in our
the
relationships.
the human toll. Yeah, it was. And like I said, I still, it's something that I think I'll always. I think it's going to take a long time, probably the rest of my life, to make up for that stuff. Um, and in all honesty, I'm still not better. I still have anger issues. Heck, last week, in fact, I went on I went on a rant in front of my wife and kids, yelling about something with the house, you know, and things will go off the rails from time to time still. And again, I was under the illusions that, get a little bit of help, you'll be fine. No, you're
Mhm.
not fine. And yeah, I mean, you have to deal with being a different person, but so do those around you.
Yeah.
And I think I've been quite selfish thinking that they haven't had to make that adjustment too. And I mean, like I said, I was suicidal, angry, drinking all the time. Yeah, dude, it just wasn't good. It wasn't good. And I've been home now for a good 10 years. And I would say just in the last year, maybe year and a half, I worked pretty hard on trying to fix things with those around me. Um, and I think that actually helps me too. When I see, when you realize what a jackass you've been, to your wife and kids, um, and they give you grace. I mean, why? I'm not giving myself grace. Why are you giving me grace? Well, then you start to realize that there's people around you that love you,
Mhm.
that care about you, that depend on you. And for me, I guess that was my big wake up call is when I just started realizing that, I'm here for a reason. Um, uh, People want me around most of the time, other than when I'm acting like a complete ass. Um, and Yeah, just seeing the grace that they can give somebody for what they've done. Cause man, I'm telling you, I'm not easy to live with. I'm still not easy to live with. Um, I'm not the nice guy I used to be. Um, I don't smile like I used to. I'm turning into that grumpy old man you see sitting on his front porch. I kind of remind myself of Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino. That's me all day long. And
Yeah.
when you build a life with somebody that wasn't expecting that and that doesn't happen, think about what it does to them. Is that what she
Yeah.
wants? Is that what she wants to be around? So far, yeah. And I hope it keeps going that way. But man, I'm not exactly easy to deal with. Definitely not easy to live with. And so you just keep trying to make that up. Another thing I started doing was of course going to church. I know that's not for everybody. But for me it was a big thing too, just thinking about that grace thing, knowing that there's something out there that gives me grace too, and that I'm here for a reason. I think once you realize that, then you think, okay, it's time, to kind of try to put some semblance of a life back together instead of just going through the motions. And that's kind of the stage I'm at now. I'm by no means some big success story, by no means whatsoever, because I'm not. Am I a failure? I don't think so. But am I this huge success story of, hey, he was doing really good and then he was doing really bad. Now he's doing really good again. Not really. You know, um, like I said, right now my big focus is just trying to pick up the pieces of everything I've wrecked. And that's hard, man. I think that's the hardest thing of them all. You can say I'm working on myself all you want, but I'll tell you what, try to dive back into that pile of shit and put everything back together. Um, Try to convince everybody that you care about them, that you've, been an ass to for so many years. That's when the real work starts, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that you point out that you're not, quote, a big success story, but you're still this side of the grass, right? Like,
Exactly.
dude, that's so important. And really, nobody, okay, I'm not gonna say nobody wants to hear the real big success stories, I don't fucking want to because half the shit I don't believe, right?
Yeah,
This this to me, your experience is very real. And I think, people that have been there, done that need to see and hear this stuff because
yeah.
really, like, you're an example of like doing the work, and it's a slow progression,
It's very slow.
and it's one day at a time and
Yeah,
one crisis at a time.
yeah, yeah. And it seems like every day, I wouldn't say every day, but there's always a crisis. There's always something. Either I popped off and pissed off somebody, said something I shouldn't have. I don't know. Maybe I drank too much one night and acted like an ass. Still happens, man. It still happens.
Yeah.
And like I said, the relationships, and I keep going back to the relationship with my wife. I mean, we've been married 26 years. Not the same guy she married, man. Not the same guy she married. And I've
Yeah.
told her that. I'm like, if I'm not what you want, and you gotta go, you gotta go. Not that I want her to, because she's the same person to me, but
Right.
I'm certainly not the same I was. And it'd be unfair to her to stick around if she didn't want to. And like I said, that's where that grace part pops in. Yeah, the grace she's shown me and given me is just phenomenal. The grace God's shown me and given me is phenomenal. And the fact that I'm still here to me is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Um, Recently I also got off of the antidepressants.
Nice.
I think that I'm glad I had them. I'm very glad I had them. But I came to the realization that being numb all the time probably wasn't the best thing for me. Um, and I'll have moments where I'm depressed, you know. And I think my wife, yeah, actually I do remember my wife told me that one day I was laying in bed. I didn't want to get out of bed for the day. And sometimes that happens with depression. You just don't want to get out of
Hmm.
bed. And she told me, she says, you know what? She says, what's going on? I said, I'm just depressed. I'm sad. She says, you know what? That's fine. Give it space. That was what she'd say. Give it space. And I think of that often, man. You're feeling a certain kind of way. Fine. That's how you're feeling. Give it space. Acknowledge the fact that you're feeling sad, and uh, you know, think about the fact that you're depressed. Give it space. It's okay. It
Yeah.
happens, but it's not going to be like that tomorrow. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm so glad that I didn't, on those days when I wanted to freaking fill my gullet with pills and not wake up, I'm glad I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a huge success story. The fact that I didn't do it, and I'm so glad I didn't. I used to think that suicide was a coward's way out, and it's easy to say. It's easy to say it is until you're standing in those shoes, man. Because I'll tell you what, it's you think about everything that you've done to all the people around you and how you feel. Man, I'll tell you what, you're doing them a favor when you're thinking that way. You're thinking
Yep.
that way. I was thinking that
Yep.
way. I'm doing my family a favor by checking out, getting planted in the dirt. They can move on and they can forget about this piece of crap that's wrecking their lives.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. And so I've gotten away from that mindset, even after all I've done to them, you know, I can still be of some benefit. And all I can do is, I never miss an opportunity to tell my kids I love them.
Mm-hmm.
My dad never did when I was a kid. That's something we never touched on either. Was my childhood, man. I got the coolest parents ever, man. Best people around. They're still around. They live 5 miles down the road. I go see them all the time. Always get a hug and an I love you from them, no matter what I've done. They're always right there. Um, and I try to do that with my family. And I'm like, you know what? I'm probably not going to be able to fix everything. You know, um, my kids still think I'm a fat old drunk. A couple of them do. I know one of them does. But I can't fix that. Look what I've done. All I can do is tell them I love them, give them a hug. And maybe someday, hopefully, when I'm dead and gone and he's got a family of his own, he'll do the same to his kids. So that's a kind of shift in mindset I've had, I would say over the last year and a half is, let's start trying to put things back together best we can and know that we're not going to be able to. We're going to do our best.
Yeah.
And some days I fall short of that. Other days I hope I don't, but some days you definitely fall short and it's okay, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a pretty interesting journey. And you know, the like my work, my work. Um, you know, once I got so I had a VA rating for, you know, the PTSD thing, and then was the wife was like, "Man, you're not breathing at night when you go to sleep." So I went and got a sleep study done. Found out I had some sleep apnea, chronic respiratory failure, and CO2 retention when I sleep. So got the
Mm,
CPAP thing going on and everything. And um, you know, then the wife, she'd been working for a while now, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna try to live life a little bit. So I cut down from full time to part time at my job. Um, you know, VA disability helps offset that a little bit. The wife working full time helps. The fact that I'm medically retired, I get health insurance now through the military. So I really didn't have to work full time. So I didn't. That's been a big, huge help. Wintertime really sucks. But
yeah.
the summertime's nice, you know. I go out and I just I fart around in the lawn a little bit, wash the cars, walk the dogs, ride my bike. Um, you know, things like that. So just taking that time out for yourself helps. Also up until about a year ago, I was tipping the scales a little bit over 300 pounds.
Mm,
So, you know, lost a little bit of weight to feel physically better. Still working on that. But, you know, it's just those little things that you do that add up over time that help. Um, and you know, it's funny, and I've never told anybody about my wife this, but I guess a lot of people are going to know now. Up until about 2 years ago, I wouldn't look in a mirror. I don't like
mm,
what I saw. I don't like
yeah.
what I saw. I mean, I wouldn't even look in the mirror to comb my hair, um, because I didn't like what I was. I can look in the mirror now. So it's just little stuff like that that you start to do to kind of try to come back from it. Um, you know, still have the nightmares, not as often, but I still do. Still yell in my sleep sometimes. Um, there's a little kid's face I see all the time. He'll always be
Mm,
there. Um, and I think instead of trying to run from my demons, I've decided that, you know, they're always going to be there. I don't have to be friends with them, but I got to realize that they're going to be there.
yeah.
You know, I tried a few different things, man. I tried this one thing where, uh, this guy was a big thing of, you know, if you got PTSD, if you pray enough, it'll go away. Oh, really? So I must not be praying enough. You know, I
Right.
mean, who does that? You know, it's just like I said, the most honest stuff I ever got was it's not going to go away, and you just have to learn to live. Um, so I have, man. I've been trying anyway. Um, I still keep in touch with the guys that I was over there with. Some of them are okay. Some of them are like me. I think we're a lot alike, and you know, how we've handled relationships and things like that. Um, and it's a long road for everybody. And I never thought about that, man. When I was over there, man, I'm doing the Lord's work. Go USA, let's do this, let's do this. And then you come back broken and you realize that I wouldn't say nobody cares because the people around you do, but nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know, they're too busy with their own lives. And you know, that again makes you angry because, hey, what about me? You know, over here, you know, look what I did. They don't care. They don't care. Hell, even my kids and wife, justifiably, they don't care. They just want their dad and their husband back.
Yeah.
You're home now. How come you can't let it go? You know, so there's a lot of that stuff going on still. You know, um, my wife and I still fight sometimes. I still act like an ass most of the time, I would say. But Um, yeah, man, it's but I've gone from not wanting to be alive to you're alive. Here's life. What are you going to do with it? And you gotta do something, man. You have to do something. I thought about retiring for good. I'm 50 years old. I'm like, man, I could just retire and not work at all. Well, I got to do something. You
Yeah.
know, I have to do. There's something that has to get me up and get me going. Luckily, it's night shift, and I love staying up late at night, and I love sleeping in, man. So it works out perfect that way. And I think the pace I'm at now, it's at least sustainable. I can sustain this,
Yeah.
and I can try to fix what I broke. And that's like I said, that the guilt that I carry, is so heavy around that. Just the man, man, I've done some stuff and said some things, and you know, been a drunken prick and all kinds of stuff, man. I've done some horrible, horrible things to those around me. Terrible. And that's why I started going to church too, because until I can forgive myself, how can anybody else forgive me? And
Mhm.
I'm still working on that, man. I'm still working on that. The guilt and the regret I carry around is just it's overwhelming if you let it. Um, do I regret what I did over there and going over there? Sometimes I do. Um, Sometimes I wish I never would have went. Um, but I guess the journey you're on is a journey you're on. You can't change
Yeah.
it. Um, you always think of, if I knew then what I know now, would I still done it? The jury's still out on that. You know,
Yeah.
it was definitely a life defining experience. But at some point you got to start living. You can't be stuck in it. And whether you like it or not, I was talking to one of the guys the other day about that, man. I just remember those times, and as horrible as it was still one of those times in your life, man, where you got the closest friends you ever had. You don't know if you're going to be alive the next day. You don't know what's going to happen, but you got each other to count on, and that, man, that aspect of it was absolutely phenomenal. And then you come home and things are different. And like I said, I don't know if I had issues before, and this just brought it out, and I don't know why um it changed me so much and why it's been so hard. I really don't know why, and I think I could drive myself crazy looking to find those answers, but I don't know that I ever will. Um, but I think just accepting the fact that this is the way things are now, and you gotta deal the hand you were dealt, or you gotta deal with the hand you've been dealt. I think that's a big step in and of itself.
Let me ask you something. If you could find the answer to why you handled things the way that you did, would it change anything?
Not a bit.
Then it doesn't fucking matter, does it?
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. I guess we always have to find a reason why. But yeah, maybe instead of looking for a reason why, I should just say because that's why. Just like we tell our kids, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but yeah, man, it's just, and I think that this wreckage I've been talking about, and that's why I've talked about it for so long, is because obviously it's something I'm going through right now. Number one, and number two, it's all my fault. And it's so easy to blame others. Well, I'm being an ass because my wife's, telling me what to do and it pisses me off. My kids are being little shits. That's why I'm this way. No, no, that's not why. It's me. It's me. And like I said, it's, not even, I mean, I think about this often, man, not even being able to look at, I mean, physically, I would physically get ill looking at myself in the mirror because of the crap I've done,
Hmm.
and yeah, it can get pretty dark sometimes. That's why I said that hole you get in is just dark and you don't see any way out.
Yeah.
So I think it takes a conscious decision to say, okay, maybe we won't get out of the hole. maybe we'll take a couple steps up. Maybe we'll take 10 steps up and we'll fall on our ass in the bottom of it again. And it happens.
Mhm.
Um, and it happens more often than you like. But if you don't keep climbing, you know, what chance do you have to get out? And that climb has been I mean, the most difficult thing I've done in my life. And I'm still struggling with it. I'm still climbing and I'm still falling. Like I said, I just can't believe the grace that my wife and kids have given me. I mean, a lot of people would be gone right now. And I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised she hasn't with the shit I've pulled.
Mm.
Um, but man, I'm very grateful, that she's done what she's done and has hung around me. I would have left me. Hell, I've wanted to leave me. We've already talked about that. Um, but and like I said, there's still issues there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
issues there. Um, but yeah, we're still trying. And knowing that you're the one that did this, it's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I will say, um, kids can humble you.
Oh yeah.
Um, the the grace my kids have shown me and the love they've shown me despite, you know, this guilt that I have, like, oh, I've fucked my kids up.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're definitely gonna be in therapy for the rest of their lives because of me, right? Uh, but like I mean, I remember a time where like I've gone to apologize to them for, one stupid thing I did or another stupid
Yep.
thing I did.
Yeah.
And like they're so accepting and they just say, I love you, daddy. And
Yeah.
um, now I get more of an eye roll. But,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly.
teenagers. um,
Exactly.
but I remember the feeling of just, I was shocked
Yeah.
at seeing how someone could still love me despite the bullshit that, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not just carrying with me, I'm throwing it on everybody around me.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I'm feeling like shit, I want everybody around me to feel like shit. That was my
Yeah,
thing. My kids got to the point where I was saying sorry so much, and that'll never happen again. And they would just look me dead in the eye and say, "Yeah, it is. It's going to happen again. You're going to do it again, and you're going to apologize like this again, and then it's going to happen again. So don't even apologize." I had one of my kids tell me that. Like, wow, he's probably right.
yeah,
So yeah, they can humble you in a hurry. You know, I mean, how many times can you say you're sorry for doing the exact same thing, and they just, yeah, whatever, man.
yeah,
So that's a punch right in the chest right there. If I've ever seen it. And then, like I said, knowing that you're the one, it's your fault. It's not because they're being a jerk. It's not because they don't like you. It's because they are just being honest with you. Yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
do it again. So don't even bother because it's gonna happen again. So, but
yeah,
like I said, there's still that grace element that was still there. That's phenomenal. And that's why, like I said, I touched on that piece too. Like I was going to church and stuff, and um, knowing that I don't have to carry that guilt alone does help. Helps me. Might not help
yeah,
everybody, but it helps me. So yeah, and that's what we
yeah,
do. I mean, we climb, fall, climb, fall, climb, fall, and keep going back and forth. And the memories and stuff. The trauma does scar over after a while. But it's still a scar there, man.
yeah,
There's always gonna be scars.
yep,
And, people see that you're a veteran, they ask you what you've done and stuff. Of course, you don't tell them everything, but you tell them where you were, and they think you're some kinda crazy old vet. And, I don't know
that's
if I
why,
fit that bill or not, but,
uh,
um, so there's still that stigma around that too. Once you get out, here's crazy old vet. I had one old guy tell me one time, he says he was at the VFW. Anyway, him and my mom were used to work together. He told me one time, he said, "You think you're over that PTSD crap yet?" I remember being so pissed off. I was just like, "Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm great. Yeah, how you doing today?" You know? Um, so those conversations still come up, but
Yeah.
yeah, he's just a crazy old guy. But I think if you don't have a support system, some kind of support system somewhere, man, the struggle is gonna be 20 times worse. You have to have somebody, not just I wouldn't say to unload things onto, but just somebody that you know is there if you need them. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys that don't have that, you know. Um, they depend on the system to fix them, make everything better. Well, the system's there to, I think it's a safety net and just a way to get you to the point where you can start working on yourself.
Yeah.
That's how I was with the medication too. I'm like, I just got to get off this stuff. I got to quit being numb, and I've got to face the music. And it's not music you want to hear, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and something you said about the guys that don't have that support system,
Yeah.
and the VA is there, but it really is just a safety net. It is.
Yep.
I mean, you can have really positive outcomes, and a lot of that depends on who you get put with for therapy,
Sure.
and that can make such a huge difference.
Yeah.
But when you're not getting the help you need,
Hmm.
and all you have is like this, like, just a safety net without something to like pick your ass back up and put you on your feet,
Yeah.
is it any wonder we have vets that kill themselves in the parking lots of VA? Like,
Not at all, man. Not at all. Like I said, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have the support that I have. As much as I've like I excuse me, as much as I've talked about things I've wrecked, I've also talked about their grace and stuff like that. And if I didn't have that, man, geez, I can't imagine. I would not be here. I would not be here. Even if it all fell apart tomorrow, um, I'm to the point where I would be okay. But at that deep dark time, man, if she'd have left, kids wouldn't talk to me, stuff like that, I'd be done. I'd call it quits. And I've been home for 10 years, dude. 10 years.
yeah, yep,
It's taken that long even to get to this shaky ground I'm standing on. And it's shaky. And it's taken 10 years just to get to this point. I never would have imagined that. Never.
yeah. It's interesting that you say that. Were you at Tom's memorial service?
Yeah, that one hit me hard because I was at the point there where things were pretty bad. And I saw a lot of myself in that in Tom. A
Yeah,
lot of myself where I couldn't let go of the past. And I love that guy, man. I thought he was a phenomenal guy. But we're at his memorial service and I'm like, he couldn't let go.
no, um,
And I wasn't letting go at that point.
yeah.
So, it was, yeah, that was a tough one because I saw a lot of myself in him.
Well, yeah, 100%. And I realize now that was probably the last time I saw you. Um,
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
and yeah, Tom. It it took him 10 years to drink himself to death after he
Yep.
came home.
Yeah, I definitely saw myself there. Definitely. I
Yeah.
could you know, I can yeah, like I said, yeah, long story short, yeah, that could be me. Could have been me. I hope it's not now. I hope I don't go back down that rabbit hole and never come out. Um, I don't think I will. I have confidence that I won't.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I could definitely see myself in him. That
Yeah.
was
And I
tough, man.
mean,
Because it really hit me that night too. Like after we left there, I'm like, dude, that could be me. I didn't tell anybody. You're the first person I've said that to. Was just, man, I think that yeah, if I don't be careful, because it's easy. How easy is it, man? It's so
yeah.
easy just to hang it up and just to not want to go on. And I think that that's where he was. He didn't want to keep going. And I'm not gonna say that he was a bad person or he failed. He was on his own journey, man.
Yeah.
But that's not a journey I want to go on. And um if I let myself, yeah, I could definitely see, if I were to do what I wanted to do and numb myself and abuse myself like I want to, yeah, it could be me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to let that happen. And I think you have to get to that point where you're like, yeah, I've got the potential to do this, but I'm not gonna let it. And if you don't
Yeah.
let it, that's that's what you have to work on. And yeah, that's tough. And I also saw, the people he hurt around him. I mean, like, look at his friend. I don't know if we can mention him or not, but the guy whose place we went to, for that
That
memorial
prick.
service. You look at how much pain it caused him too. Here's his friend, and there's nothing he could.
Dude,
He tried to help him, and he couldn't because he wouldn't let
he
himself be
did.
helped.
He went
And
he went above and beyond.
oh yeah, yeah,
And
yeah. And you look at,
yeah.
and now he lost his friend. You know, and I, I would hope I couldn't do that to my friends. I'd hope.
Man, so I tried to see him as much as I could when I knew things were going pretty poorly, right?
Yeah.
And Tom was always that good time buddy, right? Like
Yep. Oh yeah.
you get with Tom and you're gonna have a good fucking time.
Like you said, you better have
And
bail money ready.
for sure. And like, man, when our unit got back from Iraq, like I mentioned, I had already come home. I was on, I came home early and I was down in Georgia. When they got home, I came up here to
Uh,
see everybody. And my wife was gone at Fort Lewis doing the OR nursing course.
okay.
So I was by myself. Went to Tom's for dinner. And when I left, I got about 3 blocks and I had to call my dad to come and get me.
Yeah. A
Like,
night with Tom.
yeah. So he and my brother had to come out, pick me up. My brother drove my truck home, that sort of a deal.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it, yeah, that's just how it was, right?
Yeah.
But one once he kind of like went past that precipice, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, you knew when he wasn't drinking because he had the DTs. And
Wow.
like for a while there he was working at a hospital out in, I don't know, Holland or Zealand, and like he kept a pint of vodka over the visor that he would have on his way home.
Oh wow. Wow.
And um yeah, uh I think the last time I saw him, he had lost so much weight. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is my new Jesus physique. Just like,
Uh
God
always
damn
had
it,
that sense of humor no matter what though, didn't he?
dude. I think the worst thing he said to me though was, "Where were you for the good times?" And that
Yeah.
that hurt, like,
Oh yeah.
I had 2 small kids, I live an hour away, like
Yeah.
trying to, raise a family and get reestablished because we had been gone for like 6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just like, wow,
Yeah.
what do you say to that,
Yeah. I don't know, man. And like I said, I could see myself being just like that, and to I just saw with him, yeah, great time, great dude, but it was almost like he had to have those people around him all the time, he didn't want to be alone. And I think when
Yeah.
he was alone, that's when the demons catch up and he either didn't want to fight them or couldn't. And yeah, I mean, I thought he was a great guy, but to me, it's a definitely a cautionary tale of, because like I said, I talked to some of my buddies I was over there with, and we talk about it. And one of them said, he says, we could go back there today. Let's book a flight and go back there today. But you know what? It's not necessarily the place, but it's the time and the experiences, and you can't get those back.
Yeah.
And to chase those experiences, they happen, they're never going to happen again. And you have to, I think, if you can't get past that, man, that's going to mess with you. That's going to mess with you. And like I said, I carry around a ton of guilt and regret, a ton. And you can wallow in guilt, regret. You can wallow in the past all you want, but you know what? As you're doing that, life's still happening, world's still turning, and you can. What I've realized is you can go back there and you can pick out those good times. You can pick out the sad times too. But when you get in that trap of, man, I just wish I was back there. Well, you can't. And you gotta avoid that trap because it can keep you stuck. And it kept me stuck for a long time and it does sometimes still keeps me stuck. I had one of the guys I was over there with, him and I are the closest. He lives down by Detroit, and him and I are really close. I mean, he was retired as well medically, like I was. He was ready. He was ready to go. I was
Okay.
too, but just didn't realize it. So he's not as bitter about it as I am. But um, he recently got remarried um, this summer. Has a new kid with her. They got married, and we went down there for his wedding, and it really kind of just solidified the fact of, man, life moves on, things go on, and there's a way to find happiness on the other side of it. Um, and to see one of my best friends that I've been through so much with find that happiness, I was like, damn, it felt good. I hadn't felt that good in a long time of, hey, this guy, he's getting it,
Yeah.
he's looking for happiness, and I hope so far he's found it with
Yeah.
her. But it's so nice and such a proud moment to say, hey, we can get through this, guys. And we did, man. We had a great night. Lots of hugs, couple tears here and there, a lot of beer too, which is fine from time to time, I guess. And we looked back, we laughed, we smiled, and then that was it. And it was a great time. But to sit there and wish that you could do that every day, you can't. Is it nice to reminisce and talk about the good times and see those guys and talk through things? Yes, it's phenomenal. But you can't do it every day. So what are you going to do with those other days where you can't do that stuff? You have to do something.
Yep.
And it's so easy to say, but so difficult to do.
Yeah. No, and it's funny because, thinking about those things, like Dan and April's wedding,
Yeah.
Um, I'm not entirely sure how I got home, except I know I
And
got
that's
there.
and that's fine. That's
um, Not that I'm endorsing that behavior, but
neither am I. No, nope.
um, Dan's 50th. I again don't know how I got home, but
Yeah. You got there.
you know, like man, like it's great getting with those people, but yeah, it's not something that you know,
Yeah.
living in the past is not something that needs to be done every day.
Well, if you look at it as a privilege that you get to do from time to time, to be with those that and not to, get blasted and not, you know, remembering how you got home. I'm not talking about that. Which although it is good times, that cover goes hand in hand, but at the same time, it's a privilege to be able to go back to those times and look back at them and say, man, that was these are the people that I spent a defining moment in my life with. That's great to go back there from time to time, but to obsess on it and be upset that you can't live that every day anymore, it doesn't matter what you do, you're not going to be able to. You have to find another way.
Mhm.
Like I said, for me, that's spending my time trying to repair what I've screwed up, what I continue to screw up, and to find God, um, and to try to be better. Um, that's all you can do, man. That's all you can do. Have I forgiven myself for what I've done? Obviously, with the way I'm talking, definitely not. I still have a lot more work to do on that. I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. And that guilt is overwhelming at times, but I'm working on it.
Yeah,
And I think going from I don't want to be here anymore to let's try to fix what we screwed up and let's realize we're going to continue to screw up and let's realize we have to keep trying to fix that. I think is a big step. At least for me, it has been. Um, I don't chase money. I don't care about a fancy car. I don't like anything like that. In fact, I don't even like to speak of money. Some people get obsessed with chasing a buck. I don't care. Um, I'm just trying to get through the day and not screw up like I used to, and if I'm able, try to fix a little piece of somebody that I've hurt throughout the time, and that's what my life is now. And you know what? It's okay because it's my life.
yeah,
And like I said, will I be able to repair those things? Jury's still out. I don't know, but I can try. And that's what keeps me going, man.
yeah. It's good to have a mission, right? Like
Yeah.
we lived for so long with a mission, and
Yep.
now the mission is healing and repair.
Yeah. And, to sit there and say, oh, I got to have this mission and I've got to do this and I've got to do that. No, dude, your mission can be like mine. Just try to fix yourself. Try to get out of bed.
Hmm.
I mean, I didn't get out of bed till noon today. I didn't.
I'm
You know,
jealous.
I'm having a day where and I don't know if it's, talking to you about things. I hate talking about my past and I hate talking about myself. I don't even know why I reached out to you asking you if you needed somebody or, if you wanted to talk. Because I typically don't like to talk about these things. It bothers me. I was very nervous and depressed about even talking about it because when I talk about it, I feel it again.
Yeah,
But you know what? If it's going to help somebody else going through the same thing, why not? I'm going to be fine. Sun's going to come up tomorrow. So why
yeah,
not? Why not talk about it? Um, yeah, man. Like I said, it ain't easy. It's tough. Everybody's going through their own stuff. Um, I just try to, accept the grace that those around me have given me and try to give it to them. Um, yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard. And they never told us that
No.
when they brought us in. And
Nope.
I'll tell you what, two things I'll never do ever again is I'll never kill anything. I'll never go hunting, and I'll never ever put on a uniform again. I don't even like putting on scrubs at work because they match everybody else's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still bitter, you know. Do I think it was a great idea that they let me go? Yeah, it's probably the best for me. Otherwise, I would have ended up probably like Tom.
Yeah.
I would ended up just like him. But I'm still bitter about it, the way it was done. You know, I feel like I was a shovel with a broken handle, and I got hucked into the trash heap. You know, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we'll pay you. We'll pay you." I don't care about the money, dude. You took away my identity. Fuck you.
Yeah.
You know, and I still feel that way. I got all my uniforms, they're all packed in boxes. There's one for each one, there's a box for each one of the kids for when I'm
Mhm.
gone. I'll never look at them again. Certainly never put them on again because I'm that upset at the way it was done. And then, like I said, you come home and they're just like, you tell them your problems. Here, take this sheet and take it to the VA. Okay. You don't care
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
But it's not their business to either. You know, let's be
Right.
honest. You know, you can rationalize it really easy, but that emotion's there,
Yeah.
you know.
And I mean, you got to think too that these people are also, military or
Yeah.
DA civilians.
Yeah.
And
Oh boy.
well, let's not get started on DA
Let's not
civilians,
dive
shall
into
we?
those weeds, huh?
Holy shit. But yeah, if they're wearing the same uniform and it's their job to like do that, demo that out processing thing, like they they can't. They
Yeah.
can't invest anything. And like
No. No, they can't.
even and this is like so, I've burned out from the medical field, right? And it's like
Yeah.
at one point, when I was considering going back into it, I reached out to Matt Hedge. Do you remember Doc Hedge?
Yep, I do. Yep.
Uh, so he is in Iraq with us, and um, I'm like, how do you keep going to work every day?
Yeah.
And he said, you have a finite well of
Uh-huh.
you know care, empathy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He said, you can't ever go all in with a single patient. You can only give them whatever little bit you need to give them to help them out.
Uh-huh.
And then you have to have something that's pouring back into your own well. Because he said, if you go all in with every patient, you're going to be done and
Yeah.
out of it like way, way too soon.
I like that
And
analogy.
yeah, it's one that I kind of like, obviously I've carried it with me, right? Like
Yeah.
it's stuck.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, shout out to Doc Edge because that dude's the shit. But um, yeah, it is one of those things like those people doing the out processing kind of have to
Oh,
stick
I'm
there with
sure.
that same mentality.
Oh, yeah, they do. They do. And in fact, I've had the same thing with patients. Like when we were over there, you'd have a guy that, complex trauma from a IED blast or something like that. You'd stabilize them, give them a bunch of blood, tie off the bleeders, get things bandaged up. They have to go off to their own hospital. And I said to a doctor one time, I'm like, what's going to happen to him now? Do you think he'll make it? He's like, you know what? He said, honestly, he said, that's none of our business. We did what we could do, and that's all we can do. That's kind of the same thing. You do what you can and you hope you made a difference. And
Yeah,
that's all you can count on, really. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy or
yeah,
burn out.
and it's kind of shitty that we had to go through the stuff we went through to get to that lesson, and
Yeah.
be able to recognize and internalize that shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, if someone had told me that when I was going through 68 whiskey school,
Yeah.
would that have made a difference in my, 8 years there, however many years civilian side? Would it? Or, well, I think I know the answer. Too busy trying to get laid on the weekends at Fort Sam to really to really internalize that kind of stuff, right?
You're one of those guys, huh? I was with I was I was married with kids, so here's what we would do. Like I did my scrub school and well, medic school I did in Mississippi, but I did scrub school in San Antonio. It was so funny. There was a group of about three or four of us. We're older, married, kids. We would watch these kids go out, especially when they got paid during the week. They'd be like, get all done up. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna get drunk. I'm gonna get laid. And we would sit there. We would get cigars, and we'd have a cooler full of beer, and we'd just sit on the balcony till about midnight, and then go to bed and watch
Yeah.
these guys come rolling in at 4 in the morning, broke and drunk. And we used to
Yeah.
just laugh at them. I guess I was one of the old wise men at that point, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So you had to
Yeah.
be in the prior service barracks then, yeah?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, what was I gonna say? As far as going to that well, I think what I was always taught, because all of my medical training and stuff was through the military, so it was all geared towards taking care of casualties and the combat aspect of it and everything. And I think I was in scrub tech school. I don't know. I went to so many stupid schools, like they all blend together now. But one of the instructors said to us, he says, "You have to get to the point," and I think he'd been through some crap too. He was a little nutty, just like me. But he says to us, he says, he says, "This isn't a person." He says, "This is a machine. It's got something broken in it, and you need to fix it.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all it is." And at the time, I'm like, man, that's a pretty insensitive thing to say. But now that I've been along a little bit, you kind of realize that that's a real good way to disassociate yourself from it, and
Yeah.
avoid crashing and burning. But I think everybody crashes and burns at some point. You're
Yeah.
going to, you need a break from time to time. That's why I like that analogy of the well so much, because you're going to empty it. How are you going to fill it? And
Yeah.
that's what we never think about. We
Right.
never think about how to fill that well back up.
Yeah.
Other than dumping pills and booze down your gullet. That's how we try to fill it. And yeah, that works real great, doesn't it? Sure
Right.
isn't for me. I haven't met
Yeah.
anybody that says, yeah, I drank myself to healing.
Yeah. No. That's yeah. I mean,
So
they just don't set us up for it.
no. And a civilian side either. I
Yeah.
think they do a little bit better job of it. But at the same time, you're so focused on learning things and learning and trying to learn to do what you have to do. You don't think about the downside of it. You don't
Yeah.
think about the consequences of, this type of work. And that's why I love labor and delivery. I could sustain that forever. Are there some sad moments? Absolutely. But, doing a C-section on a gal, and she gets to see her baby and seeing that face light up, that fills the well up. It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, are there some bad outcomes? Yeah, occasionally, but for the most part, it's a happy time.
Yeah.
And that's how I can sustain that. Um, and that's why I'm glad I do what I do. They often laugh at me because I'm a dude that works in labor and delivery, but I'll tell you, man, yeah, thinking about that whole well filling thing, that's the first thing that popped into my mind. What fills my well as far as my work, and that would be it. You see that it's happy times. That's why, like
Yeah.
I said, if I never see a trauma in the rest of my life, it'll be a good life.
Yeah.
um that's another thing we didn't touch on, was like the fire side. When I was doing that too, um I quit that shortly after I got back from overseas. I couldn't see it anymore, man. I mean, you
Mhm.
want to talk about burn? I just don't want to see it anymore. I
Yep.
don't want to see a broken body anymore. I don't want to try to fix it,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, I like that. I'm going to use that well filling analogy. That guy just smart man.
Yeah, dude is crazy smart
Yeah, yeah.
and
So,
intimidating too, like that.
oh yeah, yeah. But yeah, being able to fill that well, man. That's yeah. You got to,
Yeah.
and and filling it up with the right things too. You know, is it? I fill it with motorcycle riding. Is that exactly the safest thing to do? Not really, but it does help. It
You
does
know,
help. That
it's
sense of
kind of
calm and
it's so therapeutic.
oh, dude, I'll get to times where I'm just like, my wife. We're to the point where she will just tell me, "Look, you're being a grumpy ass. Go get on your bike. Take off for a while. Go away." Because I work what 10 shifts, 8 shifts, or 10 shifts a month. So I'm home quite a bit. She's home 3 days a week. And during the summertime, especially, man, she's like, just go, just get on your bike and go. And it is therapeutic,
Yeah.
you know. And yeah, that definitely helps to clear the mind a little bit. I'm kind of a safety Nazi, so I'll have the full face helmet on, but I've got the Senna system in there, so I've got the music going, and
Yep.
yeah, the music going, just cruising down the road. It does help, but yeah, I think choosing what to fill that well is just as important as trying to fill it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because like kind of tying in the therapy side with the motorcycle side. Probably the best therapist I had through the VA.
Uh huh.
Um, one of the things she kept telling me was that you need to give yourself more grace.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where she like took out her freaking notepad and wrote that on there, said, take this home and look at it every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, okay. The next appointment I had with her, she's like, have you been giving yourself more grace?
Uh huh.
Said, well, that's interesting because I bought a motorcycle and I named it Grace. So yes, she, she loved that.
Oh, dude,
And
that is phenomenal.
like it was such a game changer for my like
Yeah.
attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, it was for me too. I got into it because one of my middle son, a kid that he used to hang out with, I started talking to his dad a lot. He rode motorcycles, and he bugged me for a long time, get a motorcycle, get a motorcycle, get a motorcycle. Sent out and bought an old rickety Yamaha 2 years ago, and yeah, got rid of that, got a nicer one, and man, I haven't looked back since. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been good. Yeah, yeah, and the like that grace piece, like I said, I've been talking on it quite a bit. That's huge, not only for others to give to you, but to give yourself too. Because I don't
Yeah.
I don't think we do that enough. I think we're
No.
we're harder on ourselves than anybody else can ever be.
Well, and how much of that is just from the programming? Uh,
Yeah,
like we have to be hard on ourselves so
yep,
that we don't let other people down. And so
yeah,
we're hypercritical of everything we do.
sure, yeah,
And, I think a lot of guys find that, sometimes the only way to get rid of that like hypercritical piece is to, get fucked up and like,
sure,
find yourself in the bottom of a bottle and, you know,
yeah,
it gives you like an 8-hour reprieve, right? But then you wake up
sure,
the next morning and, that hypercritical piece just comes roaring back and it brings a bad headache with it. So,
yeah, yeah. And who knows what you
yeah.
did when you were doing it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I limit myself quite a bit, a lot more than I used to when it comes
Yeah.
to that. Used to be it was like, yeah, let's go get it, and now it's like, yeah, I'll have a couple, talk to my buddies, or play Call of Duty for a little bit, have a few, and that's it. I'm done. I'm good. You know,
Yeah.
um, Yeah, and yeah, you got to be careful, man. You got to be careful, but at the same time, you have to get through the day at some point. But I think that's a pretty bad coping mechanism, you know. But at the time, it seems like the right answer because it's the only one you
Yep.
got. It's the only one you got.
Yeah.
So that's what you reach for. And,
Yeah.
being able to look critically at what you're doing, like using that, giving yourself grace, looking critically at what you're doing and trying to figure out a way to break that cycle is one of the most difficult things you can do. So,
It is.
and it doesn't always work. I'll be honest with you, it doesn't always work. I'll have nights where I'll go on a bender like a mother because I'm wallowing in guilt and self pity. It
Yeah.
happens. It happens. I'll wallow in it like crazy, and then, like you said, the bad part is you feel okay for 8 hours, and then you wake up and you've got a headache. You've pissed everybody off around you, and then you got to start back from square one. And then you got to say I'm sorry, and then those around you say, and that's what I said. They'll say, yeah, you're sorry, but you're gonna do it again. So why even apologize? Which makes the guilt even worse, which makes you want to go
Right.
do it again. So
Never
it's
ending
just
cycle, right?
it is, dude. And yeah, it's tough. And to spend years in that cycle is just, I see why guys just call it quits. I do.
Yeah.
And I used to be one of those assholes that would say, no, they're selfish, they're being this, they're being that. Man, I see it now.
Yep.
I
They're
see it.
broken and they don't know how to go forward.
Yeah. And you see, you always hear about the homeless vets out there and stuff. I don't know. Sounded pretty appealing at one point to me. Seriously. What do? You have no responsibility. Well, you do have responsibilities. You got to try to take care of yourself, but all you have to do is take care of yourself, and you just sit there and get freaking loaded every day. I don't know. What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
I mean, really, think about it.
Man,
That's
yeah.
that's all you have to do. And I have my home. I have a job and everything like that, but I was doing the same thing. Let's be honest. Sometimes I still
Yep.
do the same thing. Just care about myself, get blasted. It's easy, man.
Yeah.
Think about how easy that is. When that's your whole world focus, yeah, I can see why they do it. Why
Mhm.
not? It's easy. Why not blame
Yep.
everybody else for your problems? That's what I've done. It's easy. The hard
Yep.
part is when you finally do look in the mirror and you see what you've become, you're like, oh shit, we got to do something different here because this ain't working, man. This ain't working. So, I mean, you
Yeah.
mentioned that word forward. I've got it tattooed on my forearm. I look at it 100 times a day. I look at it 100 times a day. Keep going. It's an arrow with the word forward on it, right on my forearm, so I can just look at it. It helps.
Yeah. We need those reminders.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Um, what would you say your hope for the future is right now?
My hope is that in 24 years, I can tell you I've been married for 50. Um, my hope is in 5, 10 years, whatever it takes, that I've got a couple grandkids that are happy to call me grandpa. Um, you know, I hope that someday, and I don't know that it'll happen, that the people I've done wrong, pissed off, my family would tell me they're proud of me and they forgive me. Um, and I hope that happens. I don't know. I don't know that it will. Um, my biggest hope is that I can look in the mirror one day and forgive myself because I haven't been able to do that yet. And I don't know. I don't know that I'll ever be able to do that. Um, and it wasn't from my service; it's from what I did after it. Um, yeah, I hope I can look at him and one day and truly forgive myself for the things I've done. Because I think it's like I said, it's so easy to look at others, but unless you can forgive yourself, then is it worth it? And I haven't gotten to that point yet. Can I get to the point where I don't feel guilty anymore about what I've become? Because I do. I married this wonderful, wonderful woman, had a family with her, left. Let's be honest, it was for me. Um, and come back completely different. And it wasn't to what she agreed to. And it wasn't like something my kids volunteered for. But yet I come back and I screwed it all up. So I hope one day I'll be able to be forgiven by them and be able to forgive myself. That's what I'm focused on right now, is just fixing that stuff. And like I said, there's days, many, many, many days where I fall short. Many. But I hope to fall short a little less. And then, one day, be who they need to be. And that gives me hope. Um, I was telling I do see the VA for I check in, I do my mental health stuff through them. Of course, I see their doctors from time to time, but I have my own physician that I go see. And, they've been a big help too with you. Just keep moving on, man. You just got to keep going and just keep getting through, and that's what we do. We just keep moving forward and hope for the best and hope we can fix what we've wrecked.
Yeah.
But I think that getting to the point where you don't blame others for the way you are and you start, I wouldn't say blaming yourself, but start realizing the fact that you did this, take some accountability and do what you can to fix it is
Mhm.
huge. And then realizing too that you might not be able to. But you keep moving on, hoping you can.
Yeah.
So, because I'll
Yeah.
tell you what, man, when I see my wife laugh at something I've said, or we can laugh at a joke together, that makes it all worth the struggle. So,
100%.
yeah.
Adam,
Yeah.
you've been amazing, dude.
Told you I was going to
I
be honest with you, man. And I hate going through this stuff, but if there's somebody else out there that's struggling or hurting, like I said, 10 years I've been home. What, really, in the last year, year and a half, maybe, I've been trying to dig out of that hole because it can get deep
yeah.
and it doesn't go away. So my advice, I guess, would be you can't fix it, but like I said, you can learn how to live with it.
Yeah.
So
Dude, I appreciate how vulnerable you've been with us, and I know it's tough to talk about some of this stuff,
yeah,
and I think you and I both agree that talking about these difficult topics is really the only way that we can, you know, be desensitized to the shit that we've gone through.
yeah, yeah,
And, I can't encourage people enough to find that trusted person and dig your skeletons out of the closet and talk
yeah.
about them, because that's the only way we can really move forward.
Yeah, I'm to the point where I don't even, those skeletons aren't even in the closet. They're out there for everybody to see because I just don't care. I don't care. You think you're perfect and you think everything's going great for you. I guarantee you something's going on. We all got them.
Yeah.
Throw them out there.
Yeah. Put them in a lawn chair, give them a glass with an umbrella in it. Like,
There you go. Just laugh.
motherfuckers
Yeah,
are.
let them get some sun because I'll tell you what, when you do get them out of the closet, though, you also learn that there's people out there who give a shit and care about you and want to
Yeah.
help you through it. All you have to do is accept it.
Yep.
Easy to say, right? Not so
Yeah.
easy to do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Because,
so
I
easy to
mean,
say.
I feel like I live close enough that I could have driven over to your house when things were bad. But
Nope, I wouldn't have wanted you. Now I would. Come on over. But
yeah,
then, no, I didn't want anybody, man. Like I said, put me in the basement, shut off the lights, put me in front of the wall. I'm happy. Put a drink in my hand, leave me alone.
yeah,
That's what I wanted. And I'm glad I came out of it because the alternative was, well, we've seen the alternative and I
yeah.
don't like it.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I think that does it for this episode. Again, thank you so much for being willing to come on here and just spill your guts to, God knows how many people will see this or hear it. But
Well,
yeah,
I'm glad I was able to, and I'm glad you're doing this. That's why I reached out, man, because I'm like, man, if I was hearing those other guys' stories, and I resonated a lot with those, and like, man, why don't I tell my story? Because you know what, there might be somebody out there that says, man, that's just like me, and he ain't
yeah,
doing great. He's not perfect, but he's working. So maybe somebody
that's
else
all
will
it
work
takes.
on themselves and try to help themselves too. So
Yeah,
yeah.
100%. All
So
right,
thanks
man.
for having me.
Anytime, dude. And I will invite you back because
Okay.
I've got things in the plan. So
All right. All right. Well, yeah, maybe I'll show you my lawn mowing skills next time. You never know. I'm getting pretty good.
that sounds good, man.
All right, brother.
All right. Well,
Good
that's
talking
it
to you.
for, yeah, you as well. That's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye bye. This is the first time I've actually been able to see your face clearly since we started. So
I'm sorry.
you're just as pretty as I remember.
Oh yeah, whatever, dude. Whatever.
This beard is tripping me out, though, man.
Yeah.